so that I decrease the bandwidth on our webinar is I'm going to turn off my camera just because it tends to slow things down a little bit, or you get a bit of a lag. So I want to welcome you to our webinar today. It is on online job search, and as always I like to thank Janet and the College Sector Employment Services for the time that we have to do these webinars. And they've just been ever growing, and more interest in them all the time, which is really nice to see. I love the fact that we're using technology, and so yeah, so away we go. Anyway, so I've got a Prezi here that I'm going to go through some of the information on doing an effective job search online. So some of the objectives that we're going to look at are certainly the types of jobs and how we can explore various online job search sites, the difference in the technical devices that you may or may not use as part of your online job search, how to go about creating an online profile, as well as some strategies for effective online job search. So those are some of the key points that we're going to go through today. And obviously, the reality is that you must have online job search as part of your job search strategy, but it certainly shouldn't be the only part of your job search strategy. So certainly for any online job search, there's lots of different types of jobs. You can use it for your full-time jobs, part-time, even seasonal. We're still seeing right now a number of seasonal jobs being posted as we get closer to the Christmas season. Summer and student jobs, so that even that has certainly morphed over time in terms of how students are either looking for jobs while they're in school, as well as what they're doing for summer job search. And then of course there's always contract jobs and temporary jobs. So there's everything that's available in terms of the different types of jobs. And one of the other things, there's actually I'll get into some different types in a minute. One of the resources that I went to when I was researching for this webinar was a website called jobhunt.org, and they are kind of they're a great resource for all things related to job search. And what they did was they created a guide to helping find jobs online. So what I did was I pulled some of the pertinent information in terms of some of their top sources for finding jobs online. So one of the first ones that they talked about was networking. And I'm still of the mind, as well as a lot of research will show, that networking is still the quickest way to a new job. You are 5 times more likely to be hired if you've been referred by an employee than if you apply without knowing anybody. So, it's that warm call versus a cold call, but networking really is a key way to help you find work. And it doesn't mean that you're, attending big events, in big rooms that are full of strangers. One of the definitions of networking just means staying in touch with people as well as maybe meeting some new people, or asking a contact that if they can connect you with somebody else. So that's, and you never know where you can connect with somebody. So if you're doing effective networking, you could be at a soccer game and connecting with somebody, and that's effective networking. So another strategy or resource for online is employer websites. So if you know kind of where you're targeting your job search, and maybe that's the first step, is you've got to know where it is you're going, and you have some specific employers that you think you would want to work for as part of your research, visit your target employers' websites and see if they have job postings. Most business websites now will have you know, either in the About Us menu, there will be a career section or employment section, but a lot of employers' websites will have their own job posting website, and that's certainly something that you can bookmark a number of those different websites and go to them on a regular basis. Now, employers will also put their job postings on something like job aggregators. So these job aggregators are, they are certainly some of the most powerful websites that you can visit. And you would know them as things like Indeed, Simply Hired, and these are where postings are collected from employer websites, job boards, association websites, publications, as well as employers may have their own account with something like Indeed and post on that website. So sometimes you might see a posting on say Service Canada or on an employer website, and then you may see the same job again on Indeed, because the aggregators are pulling from many different sources and bring it all together in one spot. So they're very nice to be able to check on a regular basis, and there's certainly things that you can do on those websites to create your own profile, to upload your resume where employers can see your resume. So that's what the job aggregator websites do. Sometimes on that website, when you click on a job listing, the link may take you to the job source. It might take you back to an employer's website or a job board. It sometimes may take you out of that aggregator's website, just so that you know how those work. Okay. Another great job source that jobhunt.org suggests is LinkedIn. So it's currently one of the most powerful, effective professional social networks. Okay, and it also has a job postings website, or as part on its website, so it has a job postings link below the search bar. And then you can also check out things like LinkedIn groups, where you can join multiple groups, and company profile pages for your target employers as well. So it's another avenue to kind of do some research, maybe see what's happening within that company. If they do any posts, you can follow things like that. And then if anybody's been on LinkedIn, you know that you can connect to people. Not quite the same as Facebook, but it's kind of like Facebook for professionals. So it's very business oriented, and you'd be surprised the amount of information that you will find. And LinkedIn also will give you suggestions kind of based on your activity within that website as well. So that's a very powerful way to do some of that social networking, which can be very important as part of your overall online job search. Another thing just extended from that is social media. So job postings are also available through things like Twitter, Facebook, but those are probably the most common ones. So certainly social media is not to be forgotten, but it would not be the primary way to do job search. Okay. Another one that they suggest are things like associations and alumni. So oftentimes there will be school alumni groups that can be very effective for networking, and often their websites will have job postings for members. I know even here at Lambton College we use a little bit of this when in our community employment site. If we know an employer is looking for grads from programs related to our school, and I'm responsible for the job postings in our employment website, or our employment service. I will sometimes contact back to, say, the coordinator of the program, because they usually know they've been keeping in contact with their graduates who have graduated from their programs. Oftentimes they will have a Facebook group where they're keeping connected, and that's a great place for sharing information of job postings as well. So don't discount this if you have some of these connections, to make sure that you are accessing what information they may be putting out there as a group to help with job postings and possible connections to employers. Okay. So the next thing I found when I was doing some of my research was just in terms of the types of devices or how we're accessing our job search. So I found some information from Beyond.com, and they had done a survey of 4,007 job seekers in 2014. So this is just a little over 2 years old, because I think it was done in June of that year. It was an online survey that they had done, and what they were looking at was kind of the multi-screen job search. So, you know, they talk about historically, you know, in the time that we've been on the computers, a lot of job search, online job search was, you know, was done through the computer. But now there's so many of us that have smartphones and tablets, and this is making job search a multi-screen experience. So some of the research that they found, you know, was just looking at how we're using the different devices and what our favorite devices are. So you'll see in here, and I think I can increase this a little bit. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do, sorry. Was, my apologies. I thought I could bring that a little bit closer. But what they're looking at is that computers are still the go-to job search device. So 91% will still search for jobs on their computers, even if they also use a smartphone or tablet, and yet you still have 83% who are using their smartphones or tablets for job search. And it's interesting how they use the devices. So here you'll see a breakdown of smartphones versus tablets versus computers, and really what they found was for the smartphones and the tablets, you know, it was allowing people to search for jobs anytime, anywhere. And some people will take that extra step at this point when they're searching. They may go ahead and maybe apply right online using that device. But there is still another percentage that will, if they find that job of interest on their smartphone, 61% will wait and apply later on their computer, whereas 39% will apply right away from their smartphone. So, and I have found that even here in our center, we will have somebody in our resource center who is on they may have seen something on their smartphone, but they may still come into the center and get back to that, that email or that website and actually do the application on a computer. Sometimes the screens on the smartphones or tablets may not have the full functionality that you would have on a computer. And we have a Facebook page here that we use at the Employment Center, and I have found the same thing. Even when I've tried to do something from my tablet, where I've tried to share something on Facebook, it didn't share the same as when I did it from my computer. So even though I'm a fan of the additional devices, I do find that there's some things I will use my tablet for. I will still come back to the computer for certain things. And this is clearly what people are also doing within their online job search. Okay, and then the second part of this research just gave a little bit more information in terms of, you know, the device that people will use, again, is based on where they are. So they might be sitting in a doctor's office waiting for an appointment, and they can go on their smartphone and maybe if they've set up job alerts, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes, you know, they can be getting that information incoming throughout the day while they're busy doing other things. And then other people will choose the device based on what they want to do. So again, it could be doing the application for a job as opposed to just searching for a job. And then of course, the top job search activities by device. So you can see here 85% apply to jobs, the 85% of multi-screen users. Tablets a little bit are second in terms of searching for jobs, and then 71% are checking those job alerts, and I'm going to show you a couple of those in a minute. So, and just a little bit of additional information, 83% of job seekers search for jobs while watching TV, and they tend to do that on their tablet. So I found that just some interesting information in terms of how we're using, how we're utilizing these different devices, and you know, how websites need to be able to cater to different users as well, so that you do get as much functionality out of a website as possible. So the next thing I've just pulled together was kind of a list of some different job search websites. This is certainly not an exhaustive list by any means, but I have highlighted some of the common ones, and I just tried to get a cross-section of you know, some government websites, some employer websites, so you can see there, you know, like CKHA, that's the Chatham-Kent Health Alliance. I'm from the southwestern part of Ontario, so Hydro One would be another example of an employer website. And then you've got the aggregate ones, so you know, Monster, Workopolis, Indeed, Eluda. If anyone's interested in apprentice, you know, apprenticing, there's an apprentice search website that has just tons of valuable information, as well as seeing job postings related to apprentices, as well as being able to upload your resume. So there are some of those websites as well. Charity Village would be one that would be really specific to a sector. So anybody who's looking for work, you know, in any of the helping professions, Charity Village would be an example of that, where you're seeing lots of job postings from nonprofits. Okay. One of the things I always caution people when I'm talking about this is a lot of people like to use things like Kijiji for their job search. Oftentimes when I'm talking to clients in our center, and you know, we quiz them on, you know, where are you doing your job search? Oh, Kijiji. That's their first answer, and sometimes it's their only answer. And I do caution people to be careful. We have seen job postings on there that I would say are questionable, so you want to be careful if you're using that. And we ourselves do use Kijiji because we do know that job seekers are going there. You know, as an employment service, we will post our jobs to direct them back to our website. So you just want to be careful of that. And one of the other ones is job boards as well. So they can still be pretty popular, although employers have increased their recruiting on their own. So, you know, a lot of those employer websites, they have their own career section. They can post, you know, they can post on their own website. And of course, the aggregate websites make it so much simpler and make this information so accessible to so many. Kind of the general job boards are perhaps not as effective as they once were, and you want to be careful that you don't get onto one of the imitation or a scam job board that exists just to collect personal information but offer you no benefits. So I always put in those caveats just in terms of, you know, being careful on the websites that you go to. There are so many legitimate ones out there that you will find lots of information. Okay, so the next screen here, this is the job bank. So this is the job board that's put out for Service Canada, but this is a great tool to do some job search. I love it because it isn't just about job postings. It gives you lots of other information in terms of job market trends. You can explore different careers and this is always based on the NOC codes, the National Occupational Classification, where you can explore different careers. You can see education that's required, wages, the outlooks, and of course this is Canada-wide, so you can get all of this information in any area. So if somebody was looking at relocating, you can go to this and find jobs in the area that you want to relocate to. And then of course there's a section there for employers where they can post their jobs, and this has been updated in the last little while, so it's changed a little bit for employers to be able to post jobs. But the other thing that is very cool is, and I do post jobs on the job bank for our center, is when I post a job, I can, if somebody has uploaded or they've created a profile, they've uploaded their resume, it will give me, it will do some job matching for me right away, and I can see potential people that might have the job skills that I'm looking for within that job I've just posted. So it is a very useful tool for employers as well as job seekers. And you'll see along in this blue section here, there's a couple of different tools that you can use to create things like job alerts and job matches, where you will get some information coming in to you. And then down here in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a new career tool that can help you learn about what fields of study are in demand. So this is a good one. Again, you may see, if you do a job search on here, you may see some of the same jobs that you might have seen on Indeed or Workopolis, something like that, but it's still a valuable tool that has lots of Canadian-based information, which was what I really like about it. So one of those buttons, the job match, this is a screenshot of the job match program. So this allows employers and job seekers to be matched based on their respective needs and their profiles. So after being matched, the employer receives a list of qualified candidates while the job seeker receives the job opening. So you can subscribe to various job alerts, and I have some of these set up. I had some of these set up for myself, and I've also set them up for some prime jobs that we may want to see in our office for our clients, for relative to this geographical area. So this is a free email service, really simple to set up. It only sends you job alerts when there's new job opportunities available, so it's not inundating your mail, your email, and you can always unsubscribe from it at any time. Within the email that you receive from them. So the job alerts it continues to be refined and improved over time, but this is a really good tool. So you can put in the job title that you're looking for, the geographical area, and then your email, and when you hit subscribe, it sets up the job alert for you. So it's very simple. You don't have to be connected to employment insurance or anything to use this. It's open to anybody. And then this is just a screenshot of one that I had gotten, what it looks like when it comes into my email. So this was from earlier this year. It comes from job alerts at workingincanada.gc.ca, and I had set up job alerts for vocational instructors in the Windsor-Sarnia region. It showed that there was one new job that particular day, and then you can see it gives you job market information. Again, this will be based on the National Occupation Classification for this particular, this is the NOC code, or the NOC classification. And then you get a link to the actual job posting. You can see when it was posted, where it's located, the employer, and all of that information. And then it also gives you a breakdown of additional jobs in the same region, in the province, as well as Canada-wide. So that's just an example of what a job alert would look like. I don't get a ton of these in my email. If there was a sector that you were doing a job alert in, where there was a lot of job postings, you still only get them into your email twice a day. Never more than that. So that's kind of nice, because it isn't. And then if you can look at the jobs, you can click on them, you can read them. If it's something that you want to apply to, I always recommend applying to it very quickly, because sometimes these job postings don't stay up for a long time. Or you may look at it and say, no, that's not for me, and then you can delete the email. It's that simple. Okay. And then this here is an example. This is just a screenshot of the job seeker profile that I had set up. And this, again, is still from within the workingincanada.gc.ca, the job bank, the Service Canada's job bank. So this is just an example of how you can set up the profile and what the matching mode. So there's a default matching mode where you would receive more job matches from a variety of occupations. And then I can identify the preferences that I want, and I can change these at any time. Let me see if I can just, there we go. So I can identify the geographic location, the geographic region that I want jobs to come from. So I identified Sarnia, Windsor, Chatham, London. So I was looking at jobs across kind of southwestern Ontario. And I hadn't selected any employment groups, but I certainly could modify that. And then I can identify experience and skills that I might have based on this profile I'm setting up. So I've actually set up different profiles depending on the job, on the type of job postings that I might want to see. So very cool. These are very cool tools to assist you with your job search. And again, some of it is coming to you, you know, through your, you know, by setting up a job alert, it's coming to you in your email. So this is an example here of online applications or online profiles. I just randomly selected an employer. I went to Home Depot because we have a Home Depot. We have a couple of Home Depots in this area, and I went to their career section to see what job postings they had. They had a very comprehensive application process. Let's see if I can. Let's go back here. Oh, sorry. Okay. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. There we go. So you'll see here they have kind of almost a wizard in place where it goes step by step for you, where you can search the different job openings, you get search results, you can go through the hyperlinks for different job details, and then it allows you to upload or submit your resume. There may be a CV profile information. Sometimes these websites will have you upload your information and then they still may have you go through a series of questions. So I know when my daughter applied for Tim Hortons, just as an example, there was a whole series of questions, and that particular website, it's very much a screening website. And I've talked to the managers at Tim Hortons. We've done job fairs here for them, and they identified how that system works. They, you know, you're applying, you go through this list of questions, and at the end of that set of questions, it will tell them, you know, they get either a green go or they get a red. If it's a green go, that tells them that this will be a candidate that they probably want to bring in for an interview based on how you've answered those questions. So there's lots of different softwares out there that employers and HR departments are using as screening devices as part of the application process. So, and I mean, there's lots of these websites. You know, I talked about Tim's. Even Indeed, you can apply directly from Indeed. Like I said earlier, Indeed sometimes may take you out of the Indeed website and back to the job source. Could be the employer's website where you can apply there. Even on our website for Lambton College Community Employment Services, we have set up our job posting website so that they can apply right online, and that gets you to, actually gets you to me, and I can help connect you with the employer through our services. Okay. One of the other things I noticed on this particular website, I don't know if I can zoom in on it a little bit more, was over on the right-hand side, they had this little link that said social networking information. So I clicked on it because I hadn't seen that on websites before. And basically what it was, it took me to another screen, and it asked two questions. If I would give permission for them to be able to go through my Facebook and maybe my LinkedIn, but there was two social media websites that they were asking for permission to search inside that link. And I thought that was very interesting. I've never seen that on another website. But so there are things as part of your online job search. Another caveat is you want to make sure that your online profile is fairly clean, because employers are doing these kinds of searches on the website as part of their selection process. Okay, does anybody have any questions at this point, Janet, with regards to some of the information that we've gone through, various websites, strategies for?
No questions coming in
yet.
No.
Okay. All right. So one of the other things I'm looking at is, and just in terms of helping you get organized for your job search, you know, depending on your individual computer skills, can help determine the success or non-success or effectiveness of your online job search. So Some of the things that, as you're getting started, or, if you're trying to get yourself more organized in terms of making that online job search more effective, you want to make sure that you have an up-to-date resume and cover letter, which is including all of your current dates of training, education, employment. You want to make sure that you have a professional email address. This one I always caution people on. Make sure that whatever you're using for your job search is a professional sounding email address. You may still have your partygirl35@hotmail.com email, but make sure that for your job search purposes that you have another one that is on your resume. And because a lot of these online job sites, job posting websites, if you're applying online, you've got to have an email that confirmations can come back to, so you want to make sure that it's professional sounding. And then access to high-speed internet or a newer computer system is certainly going to help. We do have some people that will come into our center here because we are considered a rural location here in Ontario, so some people may not have high-speed internet. That can always help if you are having to try to upload files, whether they're small files or larger files. You don't want stuff timing out. So oftentimes we will encourage people to come in, and some of these websites also can get fairly complex, so you want to make sure that you are leaving yourself enough time to go through an online application. But having high-speed internet is certainly going to help. And of course, if you come into a center, to an employment center, if you run into some technical issues, there's someone there that can help as well, because there would be nothing more frustrating than getting partway through an application and either your system times out, your internet goes down, there's a multitude of things that can happen, but there are ways to try to avoid some of that. Always review the employer's instructions and the application requirements. And I try to do this even prior to getting all of my stuff together, only because you need to pay attention to what the employer's directions are for doing the entire application but uploading your resume. So if there's a button that you have to go to that starts the application process, I've even tried to go through that and see as far as I can get so I can determine what they're looking for. They may give directions on the type of files that are uploadable. Sometimes they only want a PDF or a Word document. Sometimes you are only allowed one file to upload, which means you can't have a separate file for your cover letter and for your resume. You've got to combine them into one full document that has all of that in it. So it's important to make sure that you are reading those instructions and following them to the letter, okay? That's very important. And again, ensure enough time to go through the application process without being rushed. And there's two spots where that helps. Again, if you're setting up some job alerts, make sure that if something comes through that you want to apply for, don't leave it until the afternoon that the job posting closes. So pay attention to those dates. The earlier you get your application, the better, because sometimes you may get into an application process and realize that there is something else you need to do. And if you've left it to the 11th hour, you'll be quite panicked. And then, of course, the other thing is, if a job posting closes at 11:59 on Thursday evening, don't leave it until 10 o'clock that night. So it's just the earlier the better, certainly would be the policy for that one. So some of the do's when you are doing your online job search: obviously you want to check your email daily, creating those online profiles on various websites that you would like to work for. If you have, if you've targeted your job search, make as many connections as you can by creating those different online profiles. It's another way of doing some digital networking. Create online alerts for job boards, different search engines, aggregate websites. Have that up-to-date targeted resume package ready so that it doesn't take much to tweak it and it's ready to upload. Follow all those application instructions. Google is always your best friend. There's lots of things that you can find on Google. Buyer beware, but certainly there may be lots of other things that you will find on Google that will supplement your job search. Research the company before venturing through an online application. So you should always be researching the company before you apply to something, and then if you get called for an interview, you're doing further research. Some of the don'ts, so don't use those cute or suggestive email addresses. Stick to a professional one for sure. Don't send resume packages by email in any other format than what is specified by the employer. So again, most employers for online job applications, they may be very specific in how they want resumes uploaded, or what you include as part of the application process. Don't leave blank unanswered cells or sections in an application. So this would apply to if they have an online web form, and sometimes they'll have a web form with different fields. Most times they'll have mandatory fields marked with an asterisk. You know, so you want to make sure, and sometimes they won't let you submit them if there's a mandatory field that's been left blank or unanswered. So, but make sure that you've gone through and answered as much information as you can, or that is required. And don't assume that the application was received if you sent it by email. Sometimes, you know, follow up unless specifically stated otherwise, but however you're applying online, you may get, I know on our website when you apply, it automatically sends like an auto response identifying that yes, we have received the email or the application, because ours has the resume attached to it. So sometimes you may get that auto response, so that, you know, that's kind of your confirmation that you've received, or that they have received your documents. If you are sending something by email, and you have, you know, you can always put a read receipt on that email, or an open receipt, so you know that somebody has opened the opened the email and that they've read it. Although they you know, if that pops up, somebody can say no, and it may not send the read receipt to you. But and then if all else fails, you may just want to put a call in and make sure that, you know, that they did receive what you had sent. So some of the strategies that I found when I was doing some of the research for this, certainly identified, you know, checking for new postings near the end of the day allows you to capture any new postings that would have been posted during business hours. Don't wait until the last minute, we've already talked about this one, to apply before a deadline. Leave yourself time in case something does go wrong. And use of keywords. So some of the bigger companies will use things like software programs, and they're using those to screen large volumes of applications and resumes. So usually what I tell people when they're creating their resumes, you want to make sure that you are using those keywords throughout your resume and in your cover letter as well, because sometimes that is how they will shortlist, particularly if it's for a really highly competitive job where there is an expectation there's going to be a lot of applicants for it. There's got to be a way for them to get through that and still find the most appropriate applicants for their interview process. So try to make sure that you are using those keywords. Usually what I tell people is, if you are applying for a job, take a copy of that job posting, print it off, and highlight every skill or attribute or experience that they're looking for, and make sure that you have addressed those through your application. That would be through your resume and through your cover letter. So just in terms of some of the to-dos that you might want to do, try and create yourself a job search plan. Try and think of what employers you would like to target, and do a little more research in terms of maybe they only post on their own website. They may not use, you know, some of their job postings, if they have job postings on their website, are being, may not be pulled by Indeed, but they may be. So, you know, make sure you're accessing those aggregate websites, but then go beyond that as well. Try and set up some online profiles. So, you know, if you don't typically go to Service Canada, maybe try and set up an online profile where you can determine the type, the geographical location, of the jobs that you want to have information sent to you about for those alerts. So, and if you don't have an email set up that's appropriate for online job search, you want to make sure that you correct that, as well as maybe setting up some job alerts. So, you know, there's a multitude of websites where you can create those online profiles and job alerts where you can be accessing minute by minute sometimes job postings. And again, sometimes job postings don't stay up long. So if if a job posting goes up today and you don't check the Service Canada website until Friday, that job posting may have already been gone. Whereas if the alert matched to your profile, it's going to come to you in an email and you'll see it right away. So that's a very, very cool way to get just-in-time information related to your job search, and it's specific to how you've set up your profile. Does anybody have any other questions? That kind of completes the formal part of the presentation. If anybody has any questions or comments, or if they have some other information that I don't have in terms